The motto of our next speaker is do disrupt, change the status quo, or become it. The next talk will be you cannot deal with disruption if you doubt yourself. Keep your tech tiara straight. And it's a talk by Inga, who is a female executive with 20 years of management experience exploring tomorrow of TME, which stands for Technology, Media, and Entertainment. She's passionate, positive, with a reputation for just getting things done. She's interested in all things tech. She's interested in growth, innovation, business transformation, developing teams, people, and empowering culture. All over, just a very inspiring woman in tech that will share a really nice story with you. So Inga, welcome you on stage.
One. No, it works. Yeah. "50% of jobs will be automated in the near future, according to the very recent study by McKinsey. Do you believe this number? I don't. But the world is in disruption, and it's overwhelming at times. Every day we strive to be the best, because in a globally connected world, being average is not an option, not with the products we are creating, not with the skill sets we have. And we don't have to be the best only in our local markets, but also on a global arena. But how do you stay relevant and strive to be the best when knowledge is not the future anymore, or knowing is not the future anymore? Because facts and knowledge grow old very quickly, the same way as reality around us. So today I'm going to tell you my journey, professional journey. My name is Inga Alika Stroda, and I work for leading Latvian technology and entertainment company TAT, which has a telco heritage. And I'm a business owner. And what does it mean for me on an everyday scale is that I'm kind of a CEO for my business line I'm responsible for. But I started my career a little bit more than 2 decades ago. And I would love to call myself a digital native. But looking at this picture, this was the way I was communicating actually with my parents on my first year at university. So I had to go to the phone booth and call them at a certain time. We would have some arguments about that. And already on the first year at university, I started to search for a job. I didn't have any business experience, and frankly speaking, not a grand plan. My only ambition was to kind of gain a financial independence from my very caring parents and a flexible working hours. Check, check. And I could actually end up anywhere. I didn't really care. I was ready to be a waitress or whatever. I didn't have actually a certain industry in mind. But I think that luck was on my side, and I ended up at media and entertainment. And I fell in love with the industry from the day one. And not because back then I would be watching MTV or Cartoon Network, not really. I didn't watch a TV back then, and not really right now. But I saw that it's actually the industry which is developing very quickly. So already back then, I had to think a few steps ahead. So it's like kind of a chess. So which will be the next move? It has been and still the most disruptive industry. And that's what fascinated me. But of course, looking back now, how it started, it was relatively easy. So my job was actually, I was on a bridge from analog cable to the digital cable. So my job was to find the TV channels, negotiate the contracts, and in the end, we would kind of package them in small, medium, large package. And we wouldn't care too much if some of the ingredients our customers wouldn't like. And of course, the competition was very local. And yes, pretty much everyone would have the same offering. But I learned variety of unique skills. I worked for an international company, and I had a global perspective and knowledge sharing. And I learned to negotiate in multicultural settings. So I would have actually partners from different parts of the globe. And I worked, of course, with the leading entertainment brands. And along the way, I had a lot of fun. I think it's important. And when I say fun, I mean it. So who have seen the recent James Bond? So on the back side, it's a slightly younger me and slightly younger Daniel Craig. And I learned at this moment, so I was having actually much more fun. And yeah, sorry, it's changing. So I would have actually a lot of fun, but I would learn that being an actor and Daniel Craig is actually hard work. So here they are at the setting of Quantum of Solace. So when the filming is happening, they have extensive working hours. So they start from 6 o'clock and they end up around midnight. So it reflects in his eyes, I guess. But yes, looking back at this chapter of my career, so I also say what actually many other speakers said today: start before you are ready. Yes, it's a very used quote, but I have walked through this many times myself, and it's true. So you can actually, if you have the right attitude and the right skill sets, not like hard, but soft, like curiosity and critical thinking, then you actually will grow into the roles. The next big chapter started in 2009 when back then La Telecom, now TAT, were rolling the TV service, and they invited me to work, to join the team to work on the TV development. When I was leaving my previous employer, all my friends said, well, why are you going there? They don't have a TV service in place. And I said, just wait and see. And at this time, I definitely was skilled for the role I was hired. I was the content manager, so I had to do what I have learned in my previous years. I was signing the contracts, actually coming up with a programming strategy. And after 6 months, I was again promoted above my competence levels. Of course, here I have to say that it actually depends from your boss or a leader a lot. So she gave a lot of confidence in me, and I'm forever thankful. And another data, 97% of the bosses consider themselves good leaders, and 20% of the workers agree with the statement, the leadership I experience at work motivates me to do an excellent job. Find a mistake. It was also my mistake. So I thought that if I'm so passionate about what I do, and I have a knowledge about industry, that will definitely make me a great leader, but that's not entirely true. So you have to, of course, also encourage the feedback, not only from the top down, but also ask your team. And it's not so easy, actually. I'm still kind of working on that, right? Because how do you create the psychological safety that people are actually ready to always provide you the feedback, and actually also for myself to give the feedback back to my leaders? So yes, leadership, I think, nowadays is even more important. So it's not only when you manage the team, but also, of course, you have to facilitate a lot of discussions with the stakeholders. But even if you are an expert, prepare for already on time for the leadership role and understand that being an expert, you love to do everything and rely basically on yourself, right, for the skill sets you are equipped to. But when you are a leader, you have to kind of drop the expertise role. So with encouragement of my boss back then, I joined the Stockholm School of Economics for an EMBA degree. Of course, I didn't learn only about the leadership, but also a very kind of classic business school as Stockholm School of Economics is. And by 2013, I acquired the diploma. The business of TV business I was responsible for was booming. We were growing market shares, employee engagement at the company were very high. the customer satisfaction index, which is actually very challenging in our industry, was also high. And luckily, competitors were lagging. And you know what? By that time, I thought I figured it all out. I mean, all out, not only professionally. I thought I completely understand, actually, how I figured out how to live my life. So I was kind of having a feeling that I have this crystal ball. I can plan everything. I'm in control of my life. I even planned my maternity. So I thought, this is a perfect time. I can afford it from the business perspective. And by planning, I mean that I always have been, I don't know, like married to my work. I have to admit it. So I hear it a lot. So if you are passionate about what you do, this is a thing I guess you deal with. But when I got pregnant, I said that I actually want to take this year and 3 months, very specific, because my daughter was born in 2014, very conveniently in the summer, so I could return for the next budgeting session, which I planned. So I will be kind of in time for planning a year when I'm joining back the company. But I returned in the 2015, just the moment, actually the months, when the company was restructuring. So they divided a core business and a new business. And I was offered actually 2 roles after maternity leave. I couldn't take the one which I had before, but I could be responsible for a core business, which I think back then generated around 70% of the company revenues, or join new business. So which one do you think I took? Which one? New business. Yes. Yes, it actually seems very kind of obvious now, because of course you want to work for the new bets, right? But back then it wasn't such an easy decision. I have to say I wasn't even very happy about this divide, because I kind of wanted them both, you know, but I joined a new division called START at TED, and START was innovation division with the main objective to build the new products using startup-like methods and support the cultural transformation from a service-oriented company to a UX and product-driven company. And I was responsible for building absolutely from scratch a streaming product which would compete and combat Netflix, but internally it wasn't anything new. So I thought that, of course, I know how to do it. I was actually ambassador within a company saying that Netflix is coming, we should do that, this is obvious next step. But then I ended up in this START, so with lots of people from a startup environment, and I started to hear a lot of weird words like agile, user journey mapping, and I awoke to a true world of disruption, or VUCA reality. Do you know what is VUCA? No, it's not a Latvian advertising agency, by the way. So VUCA is actually a framework. You can definitely Google it, but it's kind of gives a framework of disruption, how we deal with it. So volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Oh my God, I pronounced that. I think that Latvians never can pronounce the word ambiguous. And yes, I was confused at this point, because here happened something which is called paradox of success. When you kind of figured out a success formula and you think we have always done it this way, is the way going forward. And I think the most kind of typical or used example is Nokia, which of course had a smartphone before Apple, but they decided to go forward with a core business because that's what they were used to do. And there are a lot of examples also from sports, like German football team in 2014, and I'm not big on sports, I hope I'm telling it right, but they won in the football championship, and few years later they lost, and they were devastated. And why they lost? Because they said, never change a winning team, and that's the strategy which kind of gave us a victory, but the competitors copied them. So at this point, my invisible crown of figuring it all out actually fell. And I started to research what to do. So I thought, okay, knowledge is where I can rely on. So I started to think, where should I study next? And I joined Hyper Island. Who of you knows what is Hyper Island University? No? You have to check it out. So my good colleague and now friend was already studying for a year at Hyper Island, this exotic named university in Stockholm. And I applied actually because I learned that he also wanted to study in Singularity University, which was a 10 weeks program in America. And exactly this year it was closed. And I thought, okay, it might not be wrong. I applied for a digital management program and I was accepted. And I landed up at Hyper Island. And the Hyper Island is a university which is Swedish-based, but they have also programs in Manchester and London and Singapore, maybe somewhere else. And they are completely different from anything else. They are called the Harvard for Digital Skills, but they themselves are saying that there is nothing like traditional schools, because basically on the first day, they said, forget everything what you know. We are not going to have traditional lecturers. You will have industry leaders, which will only show their point of view, because there is no absolute truth. And I was like, wait, what? I'm not going to be taught, like, what is design thinking even means, because by that point I thought, like, okay, digital management I can understand, but design thinking, like, what does it have to do with the furniture? And Hyper Island shifted my personal and professional mindset and really pushed me to develop my creative confidence. And how the studies were conducted, so we would work in very diverse teams, because also the people who applied were coming from different countries, from very different backgrounds, and very different age groups. So there would be developers and business runners, and then me coming from entertainment industry. You would think that how can you even kind of work together one team? We would have real life challenges to solve. So we would have for each of our modules briefs from real companies like SIBs, Stockholm City Planning, fashion retailers, and we would solve the kind of digital challenges they are facing right now. And then on the side, we would need to work with specific challenge within our companies or businesses. And so in 10 months, we would actually work with 12 challenges. And feedback, why feedback? I think, yes, like still mastering it, but I haven't done so many feedbacking and reflection like during Hyper Island, and I really started to love it. And and iterative approach, of course. So if you, was also kind of a mantra. It's okay that you don't know everything. Just move step by step, iterate, basically everything, like life, work, whatever. And I'm so happy, actually graduated Hyper Island in 2020. So I actually just provided my master thesis, and I was writing about revolutionizing film festival kind of industry for them to move to the streaming. Everybody was saying it's not going to happen. 2 weeks later, pandemic started, and now look, like even RIGA next week is going to be online. But yes, it also helped me actually to deal with pandemic, I think. And yes, so basically what they were teaching us to adopt a true learning mindset, and that's kind of a superpower you can have to stay relevant. And what came out of it professionally, as I said, we had to work also with the industry and address the challenges we have. By that time, we already had a streaming service implemented under the brand Shortcut. And actually, it was more like I wouldn't say more like a pilot, but it was a pilot, basically. We didn't know if we are going to succeed. But we succeeded, and we actually even were bigger than Netflix locally, which I think was quite a unique case, because everywhere where Netflix is, they are #1. in the segment. But we understood that we feel already so powerful that we need to do kind of streaming version 2.0. And that's our newest baby, TED Plus, which maybe some of you are using. Hopefully you do. So we launched the MVP version in March. Yes, end of March. And we consider that to be like a really game-changing product. And yeah, this is like a backside of our first prototype. So it doesn't have to be sophisticated. Also, our UX team is really using lots of these digital tools, which I'm not really doing so much. But that was my first paper prototype idea. We tested it. And yes, so getting back to this McDonald's and small, medium, large. So how do you cater, actually? You have the same restaurant, but now you have vegans, paleo, keto, and vegetarians. So the same happens with the content, actually. Back then, there was no other way how to access the content, only through cable, right? But now you have internet, and actually the fragmentation of customer needs is growing. So basically what we implemented is really unique, and it's not, no other players in the market did it. So you can actually kind of have a gamification product where you have points and you can exchange them for the content you like. So currently there's more than 100 TV channels with different, of course, genres. But we also have a so-called subscription video on demand with TED Plus movies and series which you can exchange for the points. Understanding that there is, of course, also a growing number of cord cutters. Probably you, all of you are cord cutters. Do you know what it means? So basically, when you don't watch a linear channel, but mainly like on-demand services. Yes. And here I was actually really trying to keep my expertise at bay. So we were going through like really extensive customer development, not going to each of these points, but from paper prototypes, there was clickable prototypes, mobile prototypes, and beta testing, and only then we actually went with a new packaging to the market. And this is a reminder to myself, do not think that you know, still reminding myself, test it. So also after the launch, we are still testing how the new features being perceived by new customers, by existing customers. And again, for people who work in a startup, it's kind of obvious and organic. I learned that from my classmates at Hyper. But for us, we are used to work in a silos teams, like a traditional corporation. And here at TED Plus, we do work in cross-functional teams. So there is a design team with UX, UI, team inside, and front-end and back-end developers, and of course also business stakeholders. So not only me, sales, marketing. And there's still way for improvement to work really smoothly, but I'm happy that we are actually really applying and doing that. And are we there yet? I mean, me, with getting my confidence back? No, also still work in progress. The same way with our product, so it was MVP launch, but I think that it was really useful experience also how to transform and move forward in a digital age. And in the end, few kind of giveaways or a summary. So how do you keep your crown and don't lose it? I guess we all do at times, right? But it's definitely adopting a true learning mindset. And it seems, and it's not only like reading the books, of course, or going to traditional schools, but following actually everything, like technological trends or market trends. And that will ensure that you will be staying relevant for the future. Sorry, I'm also confused because it's just blackouting it from time to time. And how you can do that? What are the tools? So of course, love the feeling of not knowing. That was the most kind of, I don't know, freeing probably even revelation for me. That it's okay not to know. you can't have like this crystal ball and figure everything out for the next 3-5 years, because maybe tomorrow already a new competitor will come to the market, or yes, something else will happen. So, but it's okay to have actually like kind of 5 potential plans how things will develop or the products will develop, and verify against them every day. And of course, you don't need to unlearn everything. I mean, it's not really true, but recognize which of the maybe skills which you have are not relevant anymore. So it's also very important, but also keep the ones which actually are still relevant and helping you to grow and transition forward. And reflection. Reflection is really the most sustainable learning tool. And do it on your own, and do it with your teams, after products and projects, that sit down, find a space, and ask basically what has happened, how it made you feel, and what could you do different next time. This is really the fastest tool for learning, like a team and like a personality. And trust in process. This was my mantra. It's still on all my desktops, on all the computers. Trust the process comes from the design thinking, of course. There's no process, so create one. And at the beginning, it seems very messy and complex, and you think you will never make it clear. But if you move step by step, iterate, then you will actually arrive to this, to the answers, basically. And don't panic. Panic causes tunnel vision. So that's all from me. Thank you. I was on time. I'm impressed. I'm always talking too much.
You're on time. Do we have any questions? Like 1 or 2 we can take if we have. Are there hands? I don't see any. Okay, well, you can still catch Inga while she's here.
Yes,
Thank
definitely.
You so much.
Thank you.
Another round of applause for Inga.